All right, welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to add the logic to the input manager for it to be able to trigger the game over state. So yeah, let's do that. So let's select the input manager under the manager's game object. Open it. Okay, cool. And now we need to figure out a way to trigger the game over. So let's remove these two comments for now because we aren't using them anymore. Okay, cool. So when checking the word in the check word method, if the word is wrong, so if it's not the secret word, we are simply increasing the word container index, disabling the try button, and enabling the player to add a letter. So that's okay, but that's okay only if the current index, like if the player still has some room to type a word. Like let's hide the game over panel first, okay, like so. And imagine if the player reaches this word container and has the wrong word. It should trigger the game over like so. It shouldn't like try and increase the current word container index anymore. So let's jump back to the input manager class and here apply a check. So first we are going to increase the index. Then we can check if the current word container index is greater or equals to the amount of word containers we've got. If that's the case, then we should trigger the game over. So for now, let's open the brackets and just debug.log game over. Okay. Otherwise, we can add a letter and disable the try button. We can enable the player, to add a letter and disable the try button. By the way, we should also disable the try button if the game over is triggered. So let's drag this line above, just under the current word container index ++ line. Okay, so let's try it. Let's go back to Unity. Okay, cool. Let's hit play. Let's show the console. Okay, so let's try some words. So plots. You see, I haven't started with bread this time, but it's gonna be the second word. Bread. Okay, cool. Binge maybe. Okay, we're just testing. So let's try bread again. Bread again. Like so. Okay, cool. Bread. Okay, cool. So now you see that in the console it's written game over, and now we can't type anymore. You see? Cool, awesome, it's working. So now instead of just debugging game over, we are going to call the game manager and tell him to set the game over state. So let's write game manager dot instance dot set game state dot game over. Perfect. Now the game manager is going to trigger the game over. We can comment this line and we can also comment this one. Okay, cool. Let's jump back to Unity. Let's hit play. Okay, so let's try the bread. Okay, I'm gonna change it. So plots. I'm gonna use plots a bunch of time. Okay, cool. Plots. Nice. Again. And let's go back to our bread. Nice. And binge finally. Okay, try. Game over. Awesome. It's working, guys. Perfect. So now let's try and hit the retry button. Okay, so it seems to be working pretty well, but our score is still 40. The score has to be reset on game over. So let's quit the play mode. Let's go back to our script. And before setting the game over, let's call the data manager dot instance dot reset score. Oh, we don't have this method, so let's create it. Let's hold Control and click on data manager to open it quickly. Perfect. And we can add this method under the increase score method. So let's create it. Public void reset score. And it's simply going to set the score to 0 and saving the data. Perfect. Let's go back to Unity now. Let's hit play. So let's try, oh, we don't have word checking, so we can just spam one letter. Cool. Okay, nice. We can add that later actually. So let's hit try. Okay, so best score 40, retry, score 0. Perfect, the score has been reset. All right, one last thing. If you find the secret word like so let's try it. And if you try and press the backspace key, you see that it's still removing the letters. So that's not what we want. There are multiple ways of preventing this to happen. So one way of doing it is selecting the level complete panel and enabling the raycast target capability. So let's hit play. And now the level complete should prevent us to click on the backspace key. Awesome. We can't click on the keyboard anymore. And the other way of doing that is to, let's reset that for the moment. Let's jump back to our script, and in the input manager, in the backspace pressed callback, we can just check if we are in the game state. So if the game manager dot, let's say instance dot is game state, if we are currently in the game state, we can. But if we aren't in the game state, let's just return. Okay, so now let's quickly add this method to the game manager. Okay, let's jump maybe below the next button callback method. Let's create a new public boolean is game state, and this method will only return game state equals game. So if the game state is actually the game state, it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. Okay, did I save it? Yeah, sure. Let's hit play. All right, Udemy, like so, try. And I can't press anymore. Even though I'm pressing, it's not removing the letter, so that's perfect. We can also apply the same logic for the add key pressed callback method, but we are already preventing the player from pressing because we are checking if we can add a letter. And if you remember well, if we are triggering the game over, we are not enabling the player to add a letter. So cool. That's pretty much it for this lesson. So yeah. In the next lesson, we are going to see how we can implement a hint system. So the first hint, like this blue button right here, when clicked, will gray out a keyboard key, enabling the player to know that this specific letter is not contained in the secret word. And the other hint will simply show a specific letter that is contained in the secret word. So yeah, let's do that now.